Many spiritual traditions talk about our interconnectedness, our fundamental oneness, and maybe you've had an experience of this. But is it possible to practice oneness? Yes, it is. Hey everyone, I'm Sonja and welcome to Holiness Connection. Today I have a clip that I want to share from you, which is the introduction video for my Substack newsletter, which is around practicing oneness. Some of you may know that on this channel I've done a series called Deep Calling Deep, in which I talk about our interconnectedness and these deep levels of connection and oneness that we can cultivate and experience. And so this Substack will be focused particularly on that. And I may focus on it a bit more as well on the YouTube channel than I even have before. So I'm going to show you the introduction that I'm putting up in the Substack so you can get a sense of it. And if you're interested, I'm going to put the link below to join. Guided meditations are one piece of what I'll be offering. Guided meditations to help you to get that feeling of what it is to practice oneness. And when you sign up for the newsletter, you will get access to a free guided meditation. So you can start to see what that piece of it is all about. There will also be content in other ways as well. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and play that clip about the introduction to practicing oneness. Welcome to Oneness Practices. I'm Sonja, and I'm so glad you're here to go on this exploration and practice journey with me to whatever extent that you want to delve into it. So what are oneness practices? What does it mean to practice our oneness and deep connection? So I want to, in this introductory video, talk about what I see as some touch points for what we're up to here and for some foundational principles for what we're up to. And I'm sure there will be more things that occur to me to do in this kind of a video as well going forward. But these are the three that came to mind as I'm starting up this offering. So first of all, practicing oneness has to do with an awareness, a full being awareness of our connectedness, of our oneness. And I say full being awareness because we might conceptualize that with our mind in various ways, thinking about concepts like the collective unconscious or the web of all being, or even as a biological truth, like how we are interconnected in the environment. But it's also something that can be felt into and perceived and noticed in other ways, not just with our minds, whether you call that spiritual or energetic, and our bodies are involved in all of this as well. And as I'm making this first point about the foundational nature of awareness of the oneness and connectedness for this oneness practice, or any oneness practice, you may see that it intersects with things like mindfulness and presence, because of course we are more present when we are noticing something like that, or perhaps we notice it more when we are present. And the point about the body brings me to the number 2 principle or foundational idea that might help you get a sense of what we're doing here with oneness practices and what's important in order to do it. So oneness practices have to do with our interior energetic state, and that doesn't mean it's not physical. So we can think of it, as we're talking here and conceptualizing, as being something more spiritual or on a plane that we can't necessarily see with our ordinary senses, perhaps. That's another way of talking about it. But it also has to do with our actual heart field, which is creating an electromagnetic field around us that can be sensed by others. So often in practicing oneness, it's this interior energetic state that is involved, perhaps noticing if we're bracing or more open, and then working with it. And my final point for this initial intro, the third touch point for what we're up to here with practicing oneness and what's essential for it, has to do with the willingness to let go of content and story and surrender to the connection and the oneness, which is not to lessen the importance of story or identity. I'm also a writer, so I find those extremely important, all that meaning making and ways that we can interact and connect around our own experiences and then having someone else understand them, for example. Those are all very important, as is work that does that, that's trying to help people from different perspectives understand each other, for example. This is simply a different stance or approach. I could use the word level. I don't love the word level because it implies hierarchy sometimes, but maybe level in the sense of like we have, our skin and then we have our insides, more like that. None of them is, better or worse than the other. It's just different and plays a different role. And we have, different sort of means of awareness to feel into those different levels in that way. So, again, this is simply a different kind of work, a different kind of practice than at the story and identity level that is crucially important also. And it may well interact with the story level or the interactional level that has more content to it, because you could be practicing this while you are also doing that kind of work, for example. So hopefully that gives you some idea of what we're up to here with the oneness practices. It's very experiential, so the deeper knowingness of it, with that capital K, that knowingness, comes more through the practice and the experience. But I wanted to give you some touch points to start to understand a little bit about what we are going to do here. And my hope is to have lots of access points in. We, are diverse in our oneness. We have oneness and diversity and oneness. And so hopefully there can be a variety with the guided meditations that I'll offer and with the content that I can offer, which will partly be conceptual and partly be practices and sharing of other people's experiences, perhaps through clips from interviews and other ways, hopefully from your sharing too of your own experiences. Hopefully that can help us all have different access points into deepening our practice of oneness. Thank you for joining a community of people taking on this intention, this practice, this stance on their journeys, sometimes individually, also together, and to whatever extent that you are exploring it and practicing it at this time. All right, for my Holiness Connection people. So hopefully that started to give you some sense of what I'm up to with the Practicing Oneness. Just a reminder that that Substack newsletter link to join the newsletter and to receive it in your email. So you'll get the content that is focusing in and honing in on practicing oneness, or the deep calling deep aspect that I talk about here. And you will also, when you first sign up, get that free guided meditation with a practice around that. As I mentioned in the introductory clip you saw, a lot of it's experiential, so I just encourage you to dive in to whatever extent that feels right to you. But you can let me know in the comments if you have any questions, and I can try to answer them.